Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader and tonight we're going to focus on the efforts under the new term of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to be raising the standards of living and the presidential initiatives in the rural areas, and more specific, the Decent Life initiative to be having a better life for about 50 million Egyptians in thousands of villages all over the country, as well as developing the economy in general for the better living of the Egyptian citizens. And we will be starting straight away with the main top story for today, which comes through the presidential activity of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who warned that the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip is approaching the levels of famine. As he received the CIA chief William Burns on Sunday, the president said that the deteriorating situation needs more international efforts to press for allowing sufficient aid into Gaza. The president also stressed that serious work should be exerted in order to reach a just settlement to the Palestinian cause based on the two-state solution. General Abbas Kamel, head of the Egyptian intelligence, attended the meeting. Presidential spokesman, Counselor Ambassador Ahmed Fahmy, said that the meeting discussed the joint Egyptian-Qatari-American efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza. He said that both sides share the views over the necessity of protecting civilians, the dangers of military escalation in the Palestinian city of Rafah, and the full rejection of the forced displacement of the Palestinians. Counselor Fahmy said that President al-Sisi also warned against any expansion of the conflict on the regional security and stability. We will be heading to the first report of the Daily Debate for tonight, which focuses on the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi over the past week. So stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi heads to the Jordanian capital Amman to meet with King Abdullah II of Jordan to discuss enhancing distinguished bilateral relations between the two countries, as well as developments in the Gaza Strip, especially efforts to achieve a ceasefire and implement humanitarian aid. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi takes the constitutional oath for a new presidential term at the headquarters of the House of Representatives in the new administrative capital. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi signs the honor roll as a tribute to the martyrs of Egypt after laying a wreath of flowers at the memorial monument, and raises the Egyptian flag in the People's Square in the new administrative capital. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, attends an iftar banquet hosted by the armed forces. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi witnesses the Ministry of Endowment celebration of Laylat al-Qadr, or the Night of Destiny. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attends the Egyptian family iftar party.
And from the first report of the Daily Debate for tonight, which focused on the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi over the past week, we will be heading to the second report of the program for tonight, which focuses on the Egyptian family iftar, which was attended by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and we will be concentrating on a number of statements made by His Excellency President al-Sisi during the iftar, which focused on the Egyptians that had perseverance against the difficult economic circumstances over the past period. We will be having more details regarding such important statements in the upcoming report, so stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi thanked Egyptians for persevering against difficult circumstances to continue the journey towards progress and development. President el-Sisi said in a brief speech at the annual Egyptian Family Iftar on Saturday that he registered his admiration and respect for every Egyptian man or woman who exercised patience so that we can continue the journey and overcome terrorism and difficult economic situation. The President added that we are facing challenging circumstances regionally and globally which impacts us. President el-Sisi emphasized support for continuing an open national dialogue for an extended period with the participation of broader segments of society. He emphasized the importance of continuing dialogue across 7 axes, including economic, social, and religious tracks, to deal with the challenges of the past 6 months that affected the Arab region. The President said he endorsed its initial outcomes and directed the government and state institutions to implement and support youth and women empowerment across political, economic, and social spheres. In his speech, the President highlighted that 2 days ago he took the constitutional oath and pledged to protect the people's interests and safeguard the country's territorial integrity. And today he pledges to continue striving for Egypt's prosperity, providing dignified life for its people, preserving national security and independence, enhancing its regional leadership, and maintaining its international role. President el-Sisi said he is committed in his new presidential term to continuing economic reform measures focused on industrial localization, agricultural expansion, increasing foreign direct investment, supporting private sector, and providing necessary social protection for vulnerable groups. Sisi added that Egyptian human development is a top priority, including ensuring dignified life, quality education, healthcare, and adequate housing. He stressed he would uphold strategic balanced policies in Egypt's approach to international and regional issues, guided by clear national objectives, including safeguarding national security, promoting comprehensive peace based on justice, supporting national institutions, and respecting the people's will.
You're still watching the Daily Debate, and I am honored to be having with me in the studio for tonight is Dr. Mohammed Rushdi, the banking, the economic expert, and the lecturer at Cairo University. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate, and the Happy Eid.
Thank you so much. I would like to greet you and our audience for the coming Eid, inshallah. Happy Eid for you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Of
Thank
course,
you.
we did see in the past report the statements made by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi during attending the Egyptian family iftar yesterday. And one of the main statements made by President el-Sisi was that he thanked the Egyptians, he thanked the Egyptian citizens on having perseverance against the economic challenges that had overwhelmed the entire globe regionally and globally at the same time. How did you see the response of the Egyptians and the Egyptian government and the Egyptian political leadership towards the economic challenges that took over the world in the past 3 to 4 years?
Uh, in my humble opinion, I believe that one of the most important things that President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi highlighted on it, the challenges that we face. But actually, I would like to start with one of the most important frames that a lot of countries and a lot of multinational institutions are following, which is TWAS analysis or SWOT analysis, as a lot of people they know it, which is S for strength, W for weakness, O for opportunities, T for threat. Actually, recently, the science changed the words. They changed it not just for changing, they try to find from threats and opportunities. For that reason, they make it TWAS analysis or TWAS analysis.
Yes.
Okay. For that, what happened here in Egypt, we found from threats actually opportunities, a lot of great opportunities from the challenges. You can see easily that one of the most challenging things, it was the pandemic. And after that, the Ukrainian invasion war, which reflected on the highest inflation wave globally. We found a lot of opportunities. One of the most important things is the digitalization, to develop our economy in a proper way and to have a solid economy, invest in mega projects, infrastructure to bring more FDI and enhancing our GDP structure. As you know, and our audience, our GDP structure consists of three main parts. The agriculture part, which is the most essential, which is the essential one, because if you don't own your food, you will not own your decision actually. And then after that, the industrial part, which is one of the most crucial things. And the last one, which is the service part. The service part, which is the highest added value. Accordingly, what happened nowadays, one of the challenges, despite all the facts that we faced, the pandemic and the COVID, the pandemic and the Ukrainian invasion war and the global inflation wave, everything. What happened nowadays, we capitalize on all those threats to build a strong economy, digitalized economy, and go for digital transformation from all the threats we faced. And this is what happened from the presidential leadership, and to invest in our country, especially on the human beings. In my humble opinion, one of the most important things is the human being. If you asked me or anyone, what is the country asset? All of us, the assets. For that reason, the presidential leadership has a strategic vision on that. He invested on two main things, which is the most crucial things, the education part and the health part. Accordingly, as you know, and our audience, the education and health budget increased, as far as I recall, by 30%, the allocation for it in the new budget. In addition to, as far as I recall, the health budget, it was in 2014, which is 34 billion, something like that. Now it reached to 222 billion. Can you imagine? Those are crucial things. We have a lot of challenges, threats, and we capitalized on that to have opportunities.
Yes, and speaking of opportunities, especially in the new term of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi after taking office, I would like to know more about the journey to progress, to economic development, because President el-Sisi spoke about that. Of course, we have challenges. We had challenges in the past, economic challenges, but we had perseverance as well from the Egyptian citizens, and we had patience from the Egyptians as well. How do you think this should be transformed in the new term of President el-Sisi economically towards a journey of progress and economic development?
I believe that one of the most important things that the presidential strategic thing or strategic plan is to balance between two things, the economic development and at the same time the low-income people. He is trying to maintain their standards of living, and this is what happened through or under the umbrella of a lot of programs. One of the most important programs, which is Takaful Karma, covering a lot of families.
Yes.
It's, as far as I recall, it reached to 5 million households or 5 million people.
Yes.
Accordingly, this is one of the most important things. In addition to the economic part, to enhance the infrastructure, if you would like to bring FDI and decreasing the unemployment rate, what you shall do, you have to create a lot of opportunities. One of the most important things is FDI, the foreign direct investments.
Yes.
And this is crucial for our country. One of the most important things to get FDI, you can see easily, if I'm an investor, or you are an investor, what you will see, you will read one of the most important indicators, global indicator, which is a competitiveness report. In this competitiveness report, you can see easily that Egypt is jumped a lot of ranks. How we did it? Through a lot of initiatives. One of them is the infrastructure, the road plans, the mega projects, new capital administrative, canalways, planets, the housing part, actually.
Yes.
A lot of things. By those initiatives, you can say loudly, I'm ready to have, to bring more investments. For that reason, if returning back to our point, actually, it was quite a challenge to keep or to balance between people, they need or low income. I wouldn't love to say they need subsidy. The low income, and this is normal,
Yes.
globally normal, as you know, and our audience, this is globally normal things, as every country is measuring its GDP per capita, which is mean the income per capita per person in this country. This is based on the average GDP growth. And this is, you can find easily that Egypt was one of the, not the highest countries, one of the middle or the lowest countries between this range. And we are trying to develop. And this is the strategic vision for the presidential leadership to enhance standards of living for Egyptian citizens.
On the other hand, President Sisi mentioned that we are facing challenges, but they're also facing the globe in its entirety and the region as well, continentally in terms of Africa as well. How do you think those regional, continental and global impacts had negative repercussions on Egypt, and how did you see the response of the Egyptian political leadership towards the economic challenges that took place over the past 5 years?
As you know, and our audience nowadays, we are not living separately or isolated. We are, I would love to metaphorically say it, we are on a small village, actually. What happens on, for example, Latin America will reflect on us. What will happen on the Middle East will reflect on North America and Australia, a lot of countries. Everything is counted nowadays,
yes,
and will reflect. What we are trying to do is to develop ourselves and develop our economy within the constraints or within the obstacles that we are facing it. Concerning Africa, we have actually competitive edge. Why we have this competitive edge? As you know, and our audience, that the pyramid of age for the African continent, you can see that 60% from the total population are youth. In European countries, you can sees that the pyramid is inverted.
Yes.
So you have the power, you have the manpower to develop everything. Accordingly, Egypt is, or the presidential leadership has a strategic vision to invest on the human beings, especially the youth segment, to empower them. Youth and women, especially youth segment, to empower them, because they are the engine to build a country. You can metaphorically say it like that.
Yes.
For that reason, this is considered one of the most important things, in my humble opinion, that the presidential Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is planning to focus on the youth and to empower youth through a lot of initiatives. One of them, the SMEs, financing, microfinance for them. And this is positively, by the way, and he is encouraging the entrepreneurs. And this positively reflected on the unemployment rate. As far as I recall, the unemployment rate reached to 13.4 in 2013. Nowadays, it's reached to 7.5% around.
Nearly
roughly.
half of it.
Yes. How this happened? tell me how this, we are not having the magic stick actually. We have a plan. And one of the most important things, I would like to recall a strategic quote for one of the most important strategic planning scientists, Henry Mintzberg. It is easy to plan, but it is difficult to implement. The challenge is in the implementation. And nowadays you can see the harmony for the first time, especially in the New Republic, that all the sectors are working together, public sector, private sectors, all the ministries are working together to achieve our strategic vision for 2030 vision, to have a sustainable economy, to empower youth, to have actually green also economy,
Yes.
and to decrease our carbon footprint in a proper way. For that reason, it was a great message from the globe that Egypt hosted COP27. For that reason, we are not isolated. We are working in a lot of initiatives. One of them the sustainability, one of them the economic reform, one of them to have solid mega projects, infrastructure, building new administrative capital, supporting at the same time low-income people. Those things are serving to each other to have the new republic that we would like or what we dream.
Yeah, speaking of the new republic and the new term for President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, last Tuesday, President al-Sisi took the constitutional oath for a new term. What do you think we should be expecting in the new term economically from President al-Sisi and the political leadership in general?
In my humble opinion, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has a lot of files that he is working on it. One of the most important things, the economic part, or the economic reform. And you can find easily nowadays that we are bearing the fruit of that. One of the most important things that a lot of people, they are not, they wouldn't in the past would like to talk about it, the devaluation or something like that.
Yes.
We did a great job. We decrease the gap between the black market and the local market in a proper way, and we did it in an efficient way. And for the first time in our life, you can see a lot of commodities, its price is decreasing.
Yes.
We didn't see that previously. For that reason, it's one of the most important things. And to keep this sustainability, we are working on a lot of files like the FDI. Nowadays, the local industrial, actually, or the local manufacturing, you can find that GAFI, General Authority for Investment, is prepared actually, they prepared a good initiative that if you are an investor and you are manufacturing here in Egypt and 50% of your in components is Egyptian or local industry, you will take tax waiver. You can see that this is it's quite important thing.
Incentives.
Incentives.
Yes.
Yes, this is one of the most important incentives. It's a tool with the government, and they are using it in a proper way to bring FDI, to enhance the mega projects, and this will reflect in the coming future, in my humble opinion, on the standard of livings. And you can find is nowadays that we are a little bit being the fruits of that in terms of the first time you can see a lot of commodities, the pricing of it is decreasing.
Yes.
And the MPC, which is the Monetary Policy Committee, is managing this in a great way, in addition to, at the same time, what I'm trying to emphasize as this one of the most important things that the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is emphasizing on it, the low-income people. We are not leaving them. The President is supporting them in a proper way. You can find this easily happen in a lot of countries. This has not happened easily. For that reason, every sector in our country is working not on an isolated part, is working in harmony together to achieve the strategic vision or the plan of the Presidential Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. And to return back to our points, what was expecting from the Egyptian citizen, the expectations is extremely high to enhance the living standards accordingly. A lot of initiatives will be taken in the coming future to support this. And you can find easily that little bit we are being the fruit. And I'm totally optimistic that in the coming future we will be fruits of those initiatives.
Yes, President Al-Sisi also committed to be continuing the economic measures or the economic reform program that was implemented in the first few terms. How do you think this will be continuing in terms of increasing the localization of the industries and in terms of drawing more private investments into the Egyptian economy?
When you are talking about the localization and bringing FDI, it comes to top of my mind that if you would like to have this, we are not honestly inventing the wheel. We are taking the best practice nowadays. We are not starting from scratch. We are taking the best practice nowadays that we are focusing on the most added value part on the GDP structure, which is a service part that the government is investing on it, which is why they are investing in the service part, because the highest added value, which is the service part, you can see is that the developed countries, when they have a high growth rate on GDP, what they did, they focused on this. Accordingly, the government is focusing on the service part, which includes the technology part. So we have a lot of initiatives concerning the technology parts and the industrial part, which will positively reflect on the GDP growth. And for that reasons, by the way, we have a lot of things that indicate this. Why Egypt, the BRICS, one of the most important alliances, they invited Egypt and a lot of Arab countries to this strategic alliance. Why?
Yes.
Because they can see easily that Egypt and those economy will be one of the booming economies in the coming futures. They would like to, it's not just they are hosting us for a time. No.
It's a give and take relationship.
Let me say it like all people they are saying it. It's win-win situation. You can see it easily that we are supporting them on a lot of things, and at the same time, it's mutual benefit. Money talks, sir. You can say
it's not charity.
Yes, it's not an NGO. Accordingly, this is a positive message, and you can see easily that the credit rating risk for Egypt is enhancing, especially after a lot of initiatives and a lot of corrective actions. Despite the fact we are facing a lot of global challenges, started from the pandemic, and the Ukrainian-Russian war, and the global inflation wave.
Yes, Doctor, you mentioned several times during the course of the episode for tonight that the political leadership, that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, they always put in mind to be protecting the Egyptian citizens, to be protecting the lower income brackets in the society. In the past weeks, we have seen another initiative by the political leadership, by the government, to be raising the pensions, to be raising the minimum wages, to be raising the salaries of the Egyptians, and more specifically after the devaluation of the pound. How did you see such a move, especially during such an important time?
This is one of the most quick win actions to maintain the standards of living for the Egyptian citizen. Accordingly, as I told you and our audience starting our episode, that the presidential Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the president Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, has a strategic vision to support low-income people. Those people who have a lot of challenges. Accordingly, he increased the pension for the retirees, in addition to enhancing the minimum wages for the Egyptian people to reach, as far as I recall, to 6,000 Egyptian pound. And this is one of the most important things. And he gave his recommendation to the private sector also that this should be one of the most important things that they have to work on it to reach to the minimum salary or the minimum wages to ensure that the Egyptian citizen has at least the minimum standards of living for them and to their families. This is one of the most important, which called, I wouldn't like to say it's social solidarity like that. It's kind of like we are working together to achieve things, and if you are not living in a good manner, you will not be a productive person to your community, and you will not give back to your community, by the way.
Yes.
For that reason, it's one of the most important things to ensure that a lot of all the people, all the Egyptian citizens have the minimum standards of living, and he's trying to enhance it in a proper way. You can find this easily through a lot of initiatives, especially housing, electricity. You can find this easily, water projects, delivering a lot of things nowadays.
Yes, Doctor, you also mentioned that we are reaping the fruits of the economic reform measures that were undertaken and implemented by the political leadership and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi over the past 10 years. How do you think this will be easing the burden on the citizens, which is the main aim for the political leadership, more and more, as you mentioned, step by step for the future?
At some steps, we are taking the fast routes, actually, and at the same time, on a strategic things, we are working slowly but surely. This is one of the most important things. The quick wins, which will positively reflect on the unemployment rate, create jobs, bring FDI, things, and in addition to that, on the same side, we are working on a strategic projects. It's not for us, it's for our children, because I would love to recall a quote that we are not owning this earth, we are lending. We are not owning this earth or inherit this earth from our ancestors, we are lending or borrowing it from our children.
Yes.
For that reason, you can see easily that we are working on a quick wins nowadays to enhance standards of living and have strategic projects for our children, and this is the strategic vision for the presidential leadership, to have quick wins and have strategic vision for the next generation, to ensure for them and to ensure for our children standards of living, better living standards.
What is the importance of increasing the numbers of beneficiaries from the social protection programs in the Egyptian society?
It's crystal clear. You can see that it's like part of social solidarity, and it's you know that low-income people, they are the main builder for the economy, because they are the class that is feeding Class B and A class at the same time, and they have a lot of initiatives. They are the entrepreneurs, they are the people who are building the country in a proper way. Accordingly, if you give them the proper education and the proper health care, in addition to giving them the finance to have their own projects, what will happen? They will give back to the country. Accordingly, they will be productive and give back to the country. For that reason, it was a great strategy to focus on them, to give back to their community and their country in a proper and efficient way.
Yes, Doctor, allow me to be going to the other report of the daily debate for tonight, or the final report of the program for tonight, which focuses on the statements made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, which are saying that the political leadership, that the government should be focusing on enhancing the better living conditions for the Egyptians in the upcoming fiscal year. So stay tuned, we'll be having more details in the upcoming report.
President Fattah al-Sisi has instructed the government to increase spending on improving Egyptians' quality of life in the upcoming fiscal year 2024-2025, which starts on July 1st. Minister of Finance Mohammed Maid said the government's focus is on mitigating inflationary pressures, achieving economic goals, and prioritizing the healthcare and education sectors. He highlighted their commitment to implementing Decent Life Initiative, the country's largest project to date, which aims to improve the lives of the 60% of Egyptians who live in the countryside. Furthermore, Egypt seeks to enhance the business environment by streamlining procedures and creating a more favorable tax system for medium, small, and micro enterprises. Maid added that these measures are intended to stimulate investment, bolster production and exports, and increase participation of local businesses. Emphasizing economic growth, Maid stated that the country aims to involve the private sector more extensively in the economy during fiscal year 2024-2025. The government's objectives include maintaining economic stability, achieving an annual primary surplus of at least 2.5% of GDP, and reducing the deficit and debt rates. Additionally, Egypt plans to expedite its initial public offering program over the next 2 fiscal years to meet financing needs and attract greater investment. In the medium term, Egypt intends to extend the duration of budget authorities' debt from 3 to 4 years, reducing the need for immediate financing. Last week, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said the Egyptian economy is set to fully recover from its current crisis in 2025, with plans to reduce inflation to below 10%. Notably, the country is actively seeking additional funding to close a $70 billion financing gap by 2026, projected to be between $6 and $8 billion for fiscal year 2023-2024. Furthermore, Egypt must procure more hard currency to fulfill its commitment to the International Monetary Fund under its 4-year $3 billion loan program.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and I am honored to be having with me over the program for tonight Dr. Mohammed Rushdie, the banking and the economic expert, as well as the lecturer at Cairo University. Thank you very much once again for being with us tonight. We did see over the past report a lot of statements made by the Ministry of Finance about the inflation, about the small and medium enterprises, and the initiatives made by the political leadership and enhanced by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to be giving an opportunity for every young man and young woman with ideas in the Egyptian society to be taking out good loans and to be implementing those ideas for the near future. First of all, how do you see the importance of the small and medium enterprises for the Egyptian economy in the near future?
It's too long question. I believe you would like to answer it on this episode or other episode?
At least 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, I would like to divide the question in 2 main parts, which is the initiatives for SMEs and to support the economy, and the inflation part. If I would like to start from the most important things that the Egyptian citizens are facing it, and it was one of the challenges that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi highlighted, which is the inflation rate. We have a global inflation rate which is it was quite high, but we are trying to overcome this one, and the government has an optimistic plan that in the coming future that the inflation rate will be 1 digit. For that reason, I'm extremely optimistic that what I told you and our audience, that we will be the fruits of this in the coming future.
Yes.
This is concerning the inflation part, and you can find is this especially after the devaluation and that the gap between actually there is no black market nowadays. You can't say in Egypt there is no black market nowadays. A lot of people, they put their money foreign currencies, they change it to the local currency, and this is one of the most important things that as far as I recall, that the CBE, Central Bank of Egypt, highlighted that that the reserve, the foreign currency reserve, reached to 40 billion. This is for the first time for more than 40 or 30 years ago to reach this figure. You can find easily what the economic, the impact.
And despite
of
the circumstances.
Despite the circumstances, this is what I'm telling you, that this is a quick win. For that reason, the dollarization impact or the de-dollarization. For that reason, the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee, increases the interest rate a little bit to encourage people to change their money, the foreign currency, and to have a high return on the local currency. Accordingly, the reserve increased, and at the same time, people are taking a good return to have a standard living, to finance their investments or their livings cost or everything. And at the same time, this will positively to absorb the excess of liquidity in the market. In addition to, will reflect on the inflation rate. If there's a correlation, as you know, and our audience, there's a correlation between the inflation rate and the supply of money. If the supply of money is decreased a little bit, what will happen? The inflation rate will decrease. Accordingly, the government and the presidential Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has strategic vision to decrease the inflation rate to reach 1 digit. And I believe, I'm extremely optimistic that this will happen within the coming months.
In your opinion, inflation, of course, is a very important topic for the Egyptians living within the country and for anyone who is living even outside of the country but is focusing on the economic challenges that is facing the entire globe. Inflation, how do you think the political leadership will be dealing with it in the near future? What are the measures that will be implemented to be getting it down once again?
The inflation has a lot of indicators, as you know, and our audience. One of the most important indicator is the CPI, Consumer Price Index, which include the most strategic and essential products. And this is that the government and the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is working on it to decrease the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which will positively reflect on the prices of commodities, especially the essential commodities that we needed to our life. And you can find easily that a lot of products nowadays, its prices is decreasing a little bit, and there will be more decrease, especially for the luxury products, because we don't have the opportunity. You have the access on foreign currency, and you can find this easily. To turn back to the second part of our question in a nutshell, for sake of our time. Actually, the SMEs part and the initiatives for financing youth and empowering youth in a proper way. Accordingly, this is one of the most crucial things to empower youth, according to have a sustainable financing for them. How to do that? This happened through a lot of initiatives. One of the most important initiatives is to finance entrepreneurs and to have a microfinance programs to empower youth and to encourage entrepreneurs in addition to the SMEs. And this is one of the crucial files to focus on SMEs. SMEs, small and medium, small and medium enterprises actually. Why is the most important things? As I told you and our audience, we are not inventing the wheel. We are taking the best practice globally that have a positive impact on a lot of economies. Let me assume metaphorically that our economy consists of two main companies, for example. If one of them defaulted, what will happen? We will lose like 50% of our economy. But if we diversify our portfolio and we have a lot of companies, if one of them defaulted, what will happen? A new one will come and it will not negatively impact our economy. For that reason...
Like the banking crisis in the USA in 2008.
Thank you. Yes. Let me say it in a simple way for our audience. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, actually. We have ABC Investments. In another way, ABC Investments, you have to diversify your portfolio or your resources. Accordingly, the government, with a partnership with Central Bank of Egypt and Ministry of Finance, they did a lot of financing programs for SMEs. Started with the Central Bank of Egypt to provide them, according to sales turnover and the industry, financing programs with 5% and 8%, as far as I recall, interest rate. In addition to, after that, and they enforce it, by the way, this on a lot of banks, especially in the banking sector, that happened crystal clear that they have like 20% of the loans should be for SMEs, Central Bank. And after that, the Ministry of Finance take this over to another stage to support youth segment and to empower them and to empower entrepreneurs and ensure that we have a sustainable financing and reaching financial services all over the country, across all sectors and ages, to have a sustainable economy and achieve our strategic vision, 2030 vision, to have a sustainable economy and diversified resources. And this will happen through SMEs. And for sure, it goes without saying that this will reflect on inflation, reflect on unemployment rate, and will create more jobs for people and bring FDI if we have those solid things. And we will be one of the booming economies in the coming future, if God will.
Yes, hopefully, Dr. Mohammed Rushdi, the banking, the economic expert, and the lecturer at Cairo University. Thank you very much for being with us tonight, and a happy Eid once again.
Thank you. Happy Eid for you and our audience. Thank you.
And this brings us to the end of the Daily Debate for tonight. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.